Hi, welcome to Loft 801. My name is Diego, and today I'm talking about One Battle After Another. Straight up, I enjoyed this movie. I think this is a very, very well-made movie by Paul Thomas Anderson. Is it perfect? No, but I still think it's gonna get some Oscar nominations in a couple of categories. Despite being labeled as a comedy, this really is a political movie, and it portrays the kinds of ideas that the Academy tends to love. FYI, this review will contain some very, very, very minor spoilers as I talk about the intro and the context of the movie. If you want to go in blind, please click away. The film opens with a terrorist revolutionary cell called the French 75 led by Perfidia Beverly Hills. They storm ICE detention centers, attack politicians' offices, rob banks, and bring down power grids. In the midst of this, Perfidia develops a romance with her fellow revolutionary Pat Calhoun, and they end up having a baby. Pat wants to settle down, but Perfidia refuses to give up her fight, eventually being caught by Captain Stephen Lockjaw, who developed a sexual fascination with her when she humiliated him in an earlier raid. She agrees to witness protection in exchange for ratting out the French 75. Pat and his infant Charlene are forced to live in hiding as Bob and Willa. 16 years later, Bob and Willa live in the sanctuary city of Backtown Cross. He's washed up, addicted to drugs and alcohol, and very overprotective of his spirited daughter, Willa. In those 16 years, Lockjaw has become a colonel with his vehement anti-illegal alien efforts. He's invited to join a secret society of white supremacists and must hunt down Bob and his daughter to tie up any loose ends from his past. The main premise of this movie is Bob and Willa trying to escape Lockjaw. There were 16 people in my showing of this movie. Within the first 30 to 45 minutes of this movie, so the intro, everything prior to the 16 years later, 5 people walked out of the movie. That's a third of the audience who didn't like the movie, and I completely understand why they walked out. During the intro, one of the ladies who stuck around and watched the whole movie made a comment about, "Oh great, this is exactly what we need with all these political assassinations. Things are just gonna get worse." And to be frank, I kind of agree with her. The intro of this movie kind of glorifies Antifa and revolutions. The tone is almost self-congratulatory, and like violence in the name of change is justified. Making the tone even weirder is how it sets up Lockjaw as almost a cuck. I'll get into Lockjaw later, but tonally, the intro of this movie kind of felt all over the place, and I was thinking to myself, oh boy, what have I gotten myself into? However, once we get past the intro into the real meat and bones of this movie, it gets good. It genuinely picks up and becomes fantastic. In a way, I feel bad for the people who walked out because they missed all of the redeeming factors for this movie. The movie really has 2 phases. Firstly, the sardonic setup that flaunts its politics. Secondly, a leaner pursuit movie that reveals the emotional marrow. During this second phase of the movie, it was so entertaining it just flew by. This movie is almost 3 hours long, and genuinely it felt like a 2-hour movie. The second phase of this movie is so well put together. For starters, I think this movie portrays what political extremism does to both sides. Whether you're left or right, political extremism destroys families. Perfidia's choice to keep chasing revolution rather than raise Willa is heartbreaking when you think about it. Her absence creates a wound that everything else bleeds from. Being a single dad is not easy. Being a single dad addicted to drugs and alcohol because of past trauma is even less easy. A child raised by an alcoholic, drug-addicted father is bad. It has mental and emotional consequences for them. Children shouldn't have to parent their parents. On an acting level, I like the chemistry between Leonardo DiCaprio and Chase Infiniti. Leo is terrific as a stoned, paranoid ex-radical whose body can't cash the checks of his old bravado. He's not an action hero. He's a dad out of gas who keeps going because his daughter is what matters to him. I love the frantic and nervous energy Leo brings. He's perfect as one of those get high and worry about the cops kind of guys. He has just the right amount of panic, just the right amount of love, and just the right amount of luck. I love his banter and back and forths with Infiniti. They feel very realistic and like a genuine father-daughter duo. When Infiniti gets moments to shine, she does. She brings some heavy emotions to the climax, and I would love to see her get some more roles. Benicio del Toro as Sensei Sergio is the most underrated character in this movie. He plays a droll hybrid of a dojo guru and an underground railroad operator. He's whimsical without winking and principled without speeches. His deadpan exchanges with Bob are great. In many ways, his performance feels very familiar to his portrayal of Anatoly Zaza in this year's The Phoenician Scheme. It truly is the whimsical aspect of his character, and I appreciate the light comedy he brought to this movie. Teyana is great in her role in the opening. She's not really in much more of this movie, but when she's on screen, she gives it her all. Other supporting cast members like reginahall, alanahaim, Wood Harris, and Jack Trout round out the members of the French 75 and Lockjaw's men. They help make the two sides feel more real. Without a doubt, the star of this movie is Sean Penn. Holy moly, when his character calls for it, Penn freaking delivers. His veined forearms, drill sergeant cadence, and gait make him perfectly believable as a freak soldier. I'm bummed this movie treated him a little too goofy and like a caricature because he could have easily been one of the top 5 villains of the 2020s like Hans Landa from Inglourious Basterds. Penn is perfect as a figure of machismo and racism, and I have zero doubts he will be nominated for an Oscar with this role. Lockjaw has so many layers of vanity and obsession and is like a stick of dynamite. I love how he's framed in this movie. Everything is in orbit around him, letting Penn's acting completely carry. When it comes to the setting, I really enjoyed it. Everything felt lived in. We're clearly not stuck in a green room. Filmed in El Paso, we get rooftops, alleyways, and Main Street storefronts. We get some isolated forest shots and desert roads, and I think the cinematography embraces the characters perfectly. The camera moves around and I loved it. It feels like it's gliding through the story, so the set pieces feel real and the editing doesn't feel choppy. The final thing I'll mention is the soundtrack. Composed by Johnny Greenwood, it is consistent and insistent throughout the film. We get some pianistic chords that just play over and over, creating a metronome the story can follow. It's a great backdrop to everything and adds tension. Also, it almost makes this movie feel like a Wes Anderson movie. Again, it really reminded me of this year's The Phoenician Scheme. Despite the tension, there's a quirkiness to the consistent piano chords. To summarize, the score is simple, yet it manages to vibrate everything within the film. In the end, One Battle After Another is the kind of messy, strong, and oddly tender epic that sticks with you. The opening tones whiplash and occasional goofiness around Lockjaw won't work for everyone, but once the chase truly kicks in, PTA finds a clean emotional spine. A father fighting his past so his daughter can have a future. DiCaprio gives a jittery and bruised turn, Chase Infiniti grows into a steel-spine survivor, Del Toro glides through with sly warmth, and Sean Penn detonates every time the camera points his way. The world feels lived in, the camera actually moves, and Greenwood's pulsing piano stitches the set pieces into one long breath-held sprint. It isn't perfect, but it's well put together and an indictment of how extremism, right or left, destroys families. If you can get past the intro and the politics, this is one of those rare 3-hour movies that goes by in a flash. For me, this movie was well worth seeing in theaters, and I'm positive it's going to be nominated for Oscars. Thank you for listening to my review of One Battle After Another. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like and hit subscribe. If you did not enjoy the content, I'm sending Lockjaw after you. As always, I would love to read what you have to say, so leave a comment and let me know what you're thinking. Also, if there's something you want to see reviewed, don't forget to let me know and I will do my best to get to it. Lastly, if you want to see some more from me, then you can check out my vlogs linked up above or my podcast Good Friends. Again, thank you for watching. My name is Diego and I will see you next time.